Come with us as we visit Symens Brothers Limousine and learn why these producers choose beef.
My name is Warren Symens. I'm fourth generation farmer, rancher, and cattle feeder in Amherst, South Dakota, which is in Marshall County. My wife and I raised three kids on our farm. My kids are a freshman in college, a senior in high school, and an 8th grader. My wife is a teacher, athletic director, and coach at Brett and Hecla. My dad's retired. I live in a house I grew up in, and we raise limousine cattle, have a bull sale every year, farm around 1,500 acres. We sell a lot of corn, soybeans, raise a lot of feed. My great-grandpa came in early 1900s. They built the main farm. As the generations went on, my grandpa and his brothers separated and had their own farms, and my grandpa took over the main farm, and then when his boys were old enough, he retired actually at age 65, which is unheard of as a farmer. But he had other things that he could do. He had other things he wanted to do. He was involved in the community. He served on school boards and was a leader in a lot of ways like that. And so he wanted to do other things, and he left the farm to his 9 kids. And my dad and my uncles bought out their sister's share of the farm and continued to farm the land and raise cattle the way they had. And my dad built a feedlot on this place in the 60s and 70s and proceeded to feed several thousand a year, I suppose, and feed them out. And that led them to, when they started looking at their cow herd, that led them to the limousine breed, and that was in the 60s also, when other breeds were coming into the country, the Charolais, the Gelbvieh, the Simmental, the Limousine. And they settled on Limousine because when they started butchering their own cattle and those kinds of things, they saw what Limousine brought on a crossbred animal and how much meat it added and how efficient they were. And so that was what led to them getting into the Limousine breed and diving in. They weren't a founding member of the North American Limousine Foundation, but they are one of the earliest, and they're one of the longest lasting. I say they, I mean my dad and his brothers, but I guess myself and my cousin as well, since we're partners in the operation. So when you're dealing with family, any family, whether you work together or not, there's all those conflicts, right? There's compromises, there's decisions you got to make together, there's things that you have to adjust your priorities to fit what's going on. I think as long as everybody has a voice and everybody can help make the decisions and come to an agreement on probably what the best decision is between the generations and between the families, as long as there's communication and you can come together and talk about it and figure it out, it works. It can still be hard. It doesn't matter if you're willing to compromise and share your priorities and those kinds of things. It's still hard. It's hard to have things you want to do but have those conflicts with family. And so you also got to give each other the opportunity to be flexible and do the things you want.
Leaving a respectful footprint on today's industry is important to Symens Brothers.
I guess because we sell bulls and heifers, but mainly bulls around the country, I want people to know to think of us as a reputable producer of good genetics of cattle that will advance the beef industry, will help them be profitable, to raise better cattle and better beef, to know that we have integrity and we're trying to do things the right way, whether it's environmental or customer service or any of those kinds of things. I guess our footprint is we want to take care of what we have here, leave it better than we found it, leave the land better than we started with, leave the farmsteads in better shape every year, year after year.
Warren explains the importance of diversity in their operation.
For us, it's about being diversified. When corn and beans hit high prices, we're able to sell grain at high prices. When it doesn't pay to sell corn the way people traditionally sell corn, we can make money putting it through cattle. We can feed cattle and make money on it that way. Ideally, the bulls we were selling, we would go buy back those calves to feed, and we fed couple thousand a year that way for a lot of years. We'd go to our bull customers and buy their calves back, and so it was good for them, and it was good for us to know what kind of bulls to produce because we were taking those cattle and feeding them out here. And so diversification, I guess, is the main answer. You're able to, some years nothing makes money, but you're able to at least make something on one side of things or another by being diversified.
Whether it be Mother Nature, the economy, or other factors that test the egg industry, Symens Brothers holds true and chooses beef.
I choose beef because I enjoy being around cattle, and I like watching the decisions I make as far as breeding cows from year to year improve. I like seeing the decision I made 2 years ago show up in our bulls that we try and produce. I enjoy watching the change. I enjoy getting a pen of feeder cattle in and feeding them and watching them develop and seeing how they end up. Those are the things I enjoy about choosing beef.
And what does Warren want people to know and think of when they hear the Symens Brothers name?
I guess longevity, probably predictability and longevity. We've been doing this a long time, so we know what it takes. We're not going to go with fads. We're not going to jump on the hottest, latest genetics just because. We're not going to just raise show cattle. You know, we aren't just doing a show thing here. We're selling 100 bulls a year for over 40 years. That means something, and so I want people to think longevity and trustworthiness and predictability in what they're getting here.
Tradition and respect for the past are a large part of the Symens Brothers.
I think it's a case of any farm or ranch. We're all standing on the shoulders of the people before us. We can say that we're educated, and we can say that we've worked hard, and we have. You know, a lot of us, we're putting in the same hours that Dad was. It might be easier, it might be harder, but we're still standing on the shoulders of things the previous generations did, and I think that's important to remember. To know where you're going, you kind of got to know where you came from. My name is Warren Symens with Symens Brothers Limousine, and I choose beef.